He took everything from Memi idea, my career, and my future. But what he didn't know was that I had a surprise waiting for him that would change everything. My name is Riley Parker, and I had always dreamed of working in the tech industry. For years, I dedicated myself to a project that could revolutionize the market. I worked day and night at Brightstar Technologies, a fast-growing startup where I was constantly under pressure to deliver. But one idea, one breakthrough, was about to change the course of everything. It started as a simple concept and app that would transform the way people interacted with everyday devices. I poured my heart into it, spending hours tweaking the design, working through bugs, testing features. It was my passion, my vision. I presented the idea to my boss, Simon Harris, confident that he would recognize its potential. He smiled, listened intently, and praised my work. He told me I was on the right track, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. I didn't know it then, but that meeting would mark the beginning of the end for me. The next day, Simon called me into his office. He was as cold as ice, his usual smile replaced by a stern expression. I sat down, expecting a discussion about next steps or maybe some feedback on the app. But instead, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Riley, I'm afraid your services are no longer needed here. You're fired." I froze. My mind raced. What just happened? I had poured my soul into this project, and now he was dismissing me just like that. As I left his office, the words echoed in my mind, "You're fired." But the most gut-wrenching part of it all? Simon didn't just fire me, stole my idea. In front of the board, he presented my concept as if it was his own, claiming credit for the app that I had created from scratch. They loved it, of course, praising his visionary thinking. And just like that, he took my future and turned it into his. The days following my firing were a blur of anger, disbelief, and frustration. I couldn't understand it. I had trusted Simon. I had spent countless hours working on that project, and now he was taking all the credit for it. I was left with nothing, no job, no idea where to turn, and most of all, no recognition for my hard work. The pain of betrayal hit me hard. I couldn't believe he had done this. My career was over before it had even started. But what he didn't know was that I wasn't done yet. I spent a lot of sleepless nights thinking about what had happened. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. This wasn't the end for me. I didn't need Simon or Brightstar. I had the skills, the vision, and the drive. And I wasn't going to let him get away with stealing my idea and trampling over me. I would show him, and everyone else, that I could do this on my own. So, I made a decision. I wasn't going to fade into obscurity. I was going to take my idea back and build something that was even bigger and better than what Simon had stolen. I had learned a lot working at Brightstar. I had the experience and the expertise. What I needed now was the freedom to create and a chance to prove to everyone, including myself, that I could succeed on my own terms. It wasn't going to be easy. Starting from scratch meant hours of planning, building, and networking. But I was done being underestimated. Simon thought he could break me, but he had no idea what was coming next. I began working on my own version of the app only. This time, I had learned from Simon's mistakes. I was going to build something that not only revolutionized the tech world, but left Simon in the dust. The first few days after my firing felt like a blur. Anger and betrayal had consumed me. I couldn't believe what had just happened. My idea, the one I had spent months perfecting, obsessing over, was now out there. And Simon was taking credit for it. He didn't just steal my idea, he took my future and shattered it into pieces. The hardest part? Facing my family and friends. They had always known me as someone who was driven, who had a vision and the skills to succeed. But now, I felt like a failure. I had been rejected, dismissed, and left with nothing. I sat in my apartment, scrolling through my phone, seeing how well Simon's company was doing with my idea. The clients were flocking to him, the investors were praising him, and the app I had created was taking off. It felt like a punch to the gut every single time I saw the news. But I couldn't stay in that place. I couldn't let him win. Simon might have stolen my idea, but he didn't steal my drive. He didn't steal my ability to turn things around. I refused to let my story end with a betrayal. I spent sleepless nights strategizing. What could I do to get back at him? Could I build something even bigger? Something that would not only rival his company, but completely overshadow it? I knew one thing for sure. I was going to make him regret ever crossing me. I began researching, meeting with investors, and reaching out to former colleagues who had always believed in me. But there was a voice in the back of my mind whispering doubts. What if I fail again? What if this all crumbles like my last attempt? Despite the doubts, my anger gave me fuel. I began to see the cracks in Simon's version of the app's small issues that could be exploited. The more I studied, the more I realized how weak his foundation was. I could outsmart him, but I needed the right tools and a team behind me. One late night, after countless hours spent coding and refining the new concept, I finally had something that could be my comeback. It wasn't just an app, it was a game changer. I had refined my original idea, expanded on it, and improved it in ways Simon hadn't even considered. This was no longer just about technology. It was about creating a movement, a revolution. I had a new vision for how people would use my product, a more intuitive, more accessible platform that would resonate with users on a deeper level. This wasn't just about tech anymore. It was about connecting people, about creating an ecosystem that felt like it was made for them, not just for profit. I was ready. I reached out to my investors, set up meetings, and hired a small team of designers and developers who shared my vision. Every step of the way, I felt a new sense of purpose that I hadn't felt before. This was my second chance, and I wasn't going to waste it. As we finalized the product and made our way toward the beta launch, I felt a rush of excitement. This was it. This was the payback I had been waiting for, not just against Simon but for myself. I had proven I could build something on my own, without anyone's help. But just as things were looking up, I received a call from my mother. She was concerned. Simon had reached out to her, asking if I was okay, offering help to fix things. Apparently, he had no idea that I was already building my empire. My mom, naive as always, didn't understand why I wasn't considering his generous offer. She said, "Maybe you should take him up on it, Riley. It could be your chance to make peace with him. You've been through so much." My blood ran cold. Simon thought he could buy me out with an offer? Make me dependent on him again? I had worked too hard, endured too much, to go back to him now. "No," I said, the words coming out sharper than I meant. "I don't need his help, Mom, and I won't accept it." The phone call ended awkwardly, but it was clear. Simon still didn't get it. He thought money and power could fix things. But for me, this wasn't about money anymore. It was about proving to myself that I could rise above the betrayal and create something meaningful. The tables had turned, and now Simon was the one who needed me, but I wasn't going to help him not without a price. The day of the beta launch arrived. The team and I had worked tirelessly to perfect our version of the AppMe app. The excitement was palpable as we prepared to unveil it to the world. We'd refined every feature, optimized the user interface, and added a new layer of innovation that Simon's version could never compare to. I felt the rush of empowerment with every step. The idea that had been stolen from me was now mine again, only this time, it was stronger, more refined, and ready to disrupt the industry. It was no longer just about revenge, it was about owning what was mine and making the world see it. But just as we were about to go live, I got a message. It was from Simon. "Riley, I need your help. The company is struggling without your idea. I know you've been working on something, and I'm willing to meet you halfway. Let's collaborate on this. We can turn it around together." I couldn't believe it. After everything, after he had stolen my work and fired me, he was begging for my help? The audacity. It took everything in me not to pick up the phone and tear into him. I stood in front of the window, staring out over the city. The same city where I had once felt powerless. Now, I controlled my future. I wasn't just making my comeback, I was becoming a force no one could ignore. But I couldn't deny it, the offer was tempting. Working with Simon could catapult my company to the next level. But it was more than that. I wasn't just doing this for success anymore. I was doing it for respect. And if I worked with Simon, it would feel like giving him a piece of my success. That wasn't something I could afford. After several long hours of contemplation, I decided it was time to face him, the man who had stolen from me, taken my idea, and tried to crush my career. I set up a meeting with Simon, but this time, it wasn't going to be the same. When I walked into his office, he was sitting behind his desk, as smug as ever. He looked up at me, expecting me to walk in with desperation, to beg him to take me back. But I wasn't that person anymore. "Riley," Simon said, leaning back in his chair, "I think we both know this is a big opportunity. We can make things work together. You've got something special. Let's combine our efforts and take this to the next level." I met his eyes and said, "You don't get it, Simon. This was never about combining efforts. This was about you stealing from me, and now I'm taking back what's mine." I pulled up my laptop and clicked a button, displaying the live stats for the app we were launching. "While you've been busy trying to steal ideas, I've been busy turning mine into a reality," I said, watching his expression change as he saw the numbers. My app had already gained a significant user base, and the numbers showed no sign of slowing down. Simon's face shifted from arrogance to realization he had underestimated me. "But we could make this work, my name, your skills." He trailed off, desperate, but his words no longer held the same power. "No, Simon, this is mine now, and I'm not sharing it with anyone," I said firmly, locking eyes with him. "You took what wasn't yours, but I've built something better. You can't have a piece of it anymore." As I walked out of Simon's office, my heart was pounding, but it wasn't from fear or anger. It was from the absolute control I now had over my future. I had chosen the path of independence. But just as I thought the confrontation was over, I received an email from one of Simon's investors. It was a huge tech company wanting to invest in my business. Apparently, they had seen the demo of my app and wanted in. But there was a catch. The investment wasn't just about money, it was about power. The company was interested in buying my company. They knew I was on the brink of a breakout success, and they wanted to control it. I had just started to get my revenge on Simon, and now I was faced with another decision: sell out to a corporation or keep fighting for my independence. I knew what Simon and his investors wanted. They wanted control, and I couldn't let them take that from me. I had worked too hard to build something from the ground up. The world was finally seeing my worth, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that away. I had spent months building my empire, and now it was time to bring the fight to Simon. But I had no idea how far he would go to try to take it all from me. I had done it. My app was live, gaining traction, and already making waves in the tech world. I had already won, right? But as I sat in my office late one night, my phone rang, breaking the silence. It was from Simon. "Riley," he said, his voice strangely calm, "we need to talk. We've gone too far with this, and now it's bigger than both of us. I'm offering you a deal. You sell your app to me, and we'll go forward as partners. You'll still have a place in the company, and we can make this work. This is your only chance." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the phone. The arrogance in his voice sent a wave of rage through me. This was the same man who had stolen my idea, fired me, and then tried to bury me. Now he was offering me a deal, as if I was just a pawn in his game. A partner? He didn't get it. This was never about partnership. It was about control. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not selling, and I'm not your partner." I hung up before he could say anything else. But the battle wasn't over. 2 days later, I received a cease and desist letter. Simon was taking me to court. He was claiming that the app was still a part of his company and that I had stolen his intellectual property. He had hired top lawyers to tear me apart. I couldn't believe it. He had the gall to not only steal my idea, but now he was trying to destroy me legally. But I wasn't going to back down. I called my lawyer, and we started preparing for the fight of a lifetime. I knew this wouldn't just be a legal battle. It would be a test of my willpower, my grit, and my determination. I wasn't just fighting for my app anymore. I was fighting for my freedom, my identity, and my future. I spent sleepless nights gathering evidence, organizing every email, every meeting, every piece of data that proved Simon's betrayal. The fight was no longer just about business. It was personal. Simon had made this personal when he took my idea, my career, and my dignity. As the court date neared, I knew I needed to make a public statement. The world needed to know the truth about what Simon had done to me. So, I called a press conference. I wasn't just going to win in court, I was going to make sure the world knew who the real thief was. The day of the press conference, I stood in front of a crowd of reporters, cameras flashing as I prepared to speak. Simon was watching from a distance, and I could feel the tension building. I took a deep breath, and when the microphone was handed to me, I spoke directly into the camera, addressing Simon and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today to speak the truth. This is my company, my vision, and my idea. What Simon Harris has done is not just a theft of intellectual property. It's a theft of integrity, respect, and the trust that should exist in any professional relationship. He stole my idea, fired me, and tried to ruin my life. But I'm here today to tell you that no matter how powerful he is, no matter how many lawyers he has, he cannot stop me. My vision will stand, and I will not let him destroy what I've worked for. As I spoke, I saw Simon's face change. The arrogance that had once defined him was replaced with a look of fear. The tables had completely turned. When the press conference ended, the media exploded with coverage. Simon's company, once riding high, began to lose investors and clients as people rallied behind my story. I had exposed him, and now he was on the defense. The legal battle was long and grueling, but in the end, I won. Simon's claim to my idea was invalid, and the court sided with me, ordering him to pay damages for the intellectual property theft. But the victory wasn't just in the court ruling, it was in the truth finally coming out. But as I celebrated my legal win, an unexpected email hit my inbox. It was from one of Simon's investors, someone I had once considered a friend. The email read, "Riley, I know this might be hard to believe, but Simon has been involved in some serious illegal activities. I'm not sure if you're aware of everything, but there's more at play here than just business. If you're willing, I can share everything I know with you." I read the email in shock. What had I stumbled upon? More layers of deception, more corruption within Simon's company. This wasn't just about one stolen idea, it was about a larger, deeper betrayal that went beyond anything I could have imagined. I knew then that this was not just my fight anymore. It was time to take him down completely, not just for the theft, but for everything else he had done behind closed doors. I had everything: the success, the recognition, and the respect. But I was still missing one piece. The court victory was a moment I dreamed about for months, but it felt almost anticlimactic. Winning against Simon was only part of it. The real satisfaction came from knowing I had finally proven to myself and the world that I didn't need anyone's validation to succeed. I had built my own empire from scratch, and it was mine. But despite the success, the weight of everything still hung over me. The betrayal, the sleepless nights, the constant push to prove myself, it all felt like a lingering cloud. As I walked through the hallways of my office, watching my team of brilliant innovators work, I realized I had reached the point where this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It wasn't about Simon or his deceit. It was about something bigger. I had the power now. I had control. I didn't just want to be known for taking Simon down. I wanted to build something that would outlast all of this, the drama, the betrayal, and even the scars from it all. Just when I thought I could finally relax, I got another unexpected call. This time, it wasn't from Simon, it was from one of Simon's biggest investors, the one who had been feeding me inside information for months. "Riley, I have something important to tell you," the voice on the other end said. "Simon has been involved in more than just stealing your idea. There's a massive corruption scandal brewing within his company. It's bad, and it's going to break wide open. I wanted to give you a heads up, but this is going to hit the entire industry." My heart raced. The plot was deeper than I ever imagined. Simon had been laundering money, hiding fraudulent dealings, and manipulating investors. The news of this was going to make my victory seem like a small detail in comparison. The truth was bigger than anything I could have imagined. As the news broke and the media started covering Simon's arrest, I stood in the spotlight, knowing the true weight of what had just happened. But there was a strange sense of peace in me. It wasn't just that I had taken down my betrayer, it was that I had found a way to take back my life and build it on my own terms. Simon's downfall wasn't just a personal victory, it was a public one. The press hailed me as a symbol of resilience, determination, and justice. Investors, customers, and partners reached out to congratulate me, and I was more successful than ever. But despite the public acclaim, I couldn't help but feel that something was still missing. I had spent so much time fighting for my independence, for my idea, and for revenge, that I had almost forgotten the one thing that truly mattered: peace of mind. I realized that true power wasn't in tearing down someone else, it was in building something new that could stand on its own without fear. I took a step back and reflected on everything I had been through. The betrayal, the pain, the doubt it had all led me to this point. I had been so focused on proving myself that I had neglected the very thing that had made me successful in the first place: creativity, passion, and vision. With my business flourishing, I decided to take things in a new direction. I expanded into new markets, launched products that aligned with my core values, and made sure that the people who supported me from the start were rewarded. This wasn't just about profit, it was about legacy. I wanted to build a brand that not only represented success, but also empowerment, integrity, and innovation. But perhaps the most important decision I made was to forgive, not Simon, but myself. I forgave myself for doubting my abilities, for feeling the need to prove myself to others, and for allowing betrayal to dictate my actions. By letting go of the anger, I realized that I had been free all along. Freedom wasn't about breaking others down. It was about breaking free from the need for revenge. Months later, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Simon. "I've lost everything. I didn't think you'd ever succeed. But now I see what I should have seen all along. You were always better than me. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long moment. The person who had tried to destroy me now acknowledged my success. It wasn't satisfying, not in the way I expected it to be. The satisfaction came from knowing that I had already won, and I didn't need his approval. I looked out the window and smiled. The future was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't doing this for anyone else. I was doing it for me. Riley's journey from betrayal to triumph is nothing short of incredible. She didn't just take back what was stolen from her, she built something even bigger. And now the world is watching. If you've ever been underestimated or knocked down, her story is proof that with the right mindset, anything is possible. If you were inspired by Riley's resilience and determination, make sure to like this video and share it with anyone who needs a reminder that success isn't just about talent, it's about never giving up, no matter the odds. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life inspired stories of revenge, redemption, and personal growth. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update on these powerful transformations. What's your story of overcoming betrayal? Leave a comment below and tell us how you turned your challenges into triumphs. Your voice matters, and together we can inspire others to keep going, no matter the setback.